Hi, my name is Sarah Verhoef. I am a master healer and a soul communicator, and I just got off the coolest conversation with my friend Kim Sorrelle, where we talk about energy and healing and intuition and how much stronger you truly are than you think, and the things that you can accomplish if you believe in yourself and the things really we both believe that you can change the world, and we're excited for you to be able to do it. So tune in to this episode because we unlock you a little bit. We give you some power poses, we give you some practical things that you can do right now instead of waiting for someday. You get to do it right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. You are going to be so happy you are here. I'm Kim Sorrelle. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I just spoke at the United Nations. Man, that was so fun. I get to do a lot of fun things in life, but my favorite thing to do by far is to meet people. And I get to meet some of the coolest people in the world. And today I have a friend of mine I've known for a couple years, and she is absolutely amazing. She's one of those women that when you meet her, you're like, I need to know her. You know how some people you just gravitate toward? Sarah, my friend Sarah, is one of those people. The minute I saw her, there's just something about her that I was like, oh man, I want to be her friend. Like I want to be in her world. And I'm so blessed and honored that I am. And you are going to love Sarah. We've got lots of things that we're going to talk about today, including like some inner healing work and just some stuff that's really going to bless your socks off. So let's get started. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kim. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to have you here. We've been talking about doing this and finally we're recording. So I'm so happy that we're finally doing this. And so, Sarah, I want people to get to know you. We're going to be talking about the incredible things you do with the healing work that you do, the massage healing work that you do. But I want to start with you. And so I'd like for you to tell us about 8-year-old Sarah.
Ooh, 8-year-old Sarah. Okay. 8-year-old Sarah, very good at being in charge, oldest of the family, very dependable, reliable. My mom could go to me really for anything, and I just would make it happen. So always a take care of things kind of a gal. Although I would say I was a little bit shy and insecure, but also an inner strength. Like I just would make stuff happen.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you would, yeah. So you were tough, you would make stuff happen, you were
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
determined,
yeah.
but yet you were shy.
Hmm.
That's kind of an interesting combination.
Yeah, kind of as I was always a tomboy. I love to be outside and play hard. So yeah, I mean, I remember my mom would actually, back in the day when we would have door-to-door salesmen, I don't think we have that as much now, but she would actually send me to the door and say, tell them to go away because she was so nice. She would just like buy things that she didn't need from people because they'd come up and be like, will you buy this? She's like, okay. She's like, Sarah, you go to the door and you make them leave. So I would. That was kind of my job. That's so funny. I'd forgotten about that until just now when you asked me.
That is funny. So door-to-door salesman is apparently probably something you never wanted to be.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, because the job is, the answer is to go away. Although, isn't it funny? I did end up serving a mission for my church, which is kind of sort of a door-to-door salesman for Jesus. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so you got used to though how people might say go away
Hmm.
because you were pretty well versed in it. You knew how to do it. So maybe that was good preparation ground or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, so as a kid, like what were your favorite things to do? Like, did you have dreams about this is what I'm going to be when I grow up? This is what I want to do.
So it's fascinating. The questions are cool because I am seeing I am such a yin and yang personality that there's so much like imbalance and balance all at the same time. So for example, one of my favorite things to do was to line up my animals, like my stuffed animals or my play horses or whatever, like just perfectly in line. And then also I would I would see people who'd passed on, which doesn't make any sense. You can't line that up in a stack. So that's interesting. Something else that I always wanted to do was do massage. My dad and I, for as long as I could remember, there was always, a tickling of the back or an arm, and it was just always like he'd rub my arm and then I'd rub his arm, and then he'd rub my back and I'd rub his back. Like it was just this constant positive, beautiful physical touch. And so I always wanted to do massage. So yeah, that was definitely a dream that I had.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Okay, and you saw dead people. Um, so that's an interesting thing. How do you reconcile that as a kid? Like, do you have a recollection of when it started or?
Yeah, I actually just this week I was like, when did that start? Because as long as I can remember, it's happened. And I remember the very first time it happened, I was 4. And the reason I know I was 4 was because I was old enough to be in my own room and my brother was in his own room and there were no other kids. And I remember seeing, it's funny, seeing is like in this weird plane of like almost a memory that's being projected out. And I don't really know how else to explain. It's an interesting feeling seeing. And I remember running into his room because I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's in here and I'm aware of them and I don't know what to do with this. So I remember just being really, really kind of freaked out. So how did I reconcile? I didn't know what to say. I didn't have the words. I didn't have anything for it. So it was really difficult to reconcile. And then, words like angel, like that would make sense. I was like, oh, okay, angels, that makes sense. Or spirit, or, different words that kind of started to make sense. And truly, Kim, I've had to just realize that I can't understand everything and that things are just the way that they are. And it's okay. For example, just the other day, we're jumping out of my past for just a sec, if that's okay. Okay. And I felt very impressed to give somebody a message, and I was in person with this person. And the funny thing is, the cool thing is I don't need to remember all of it. I just need to be sort of the conduit in the moment. And I'm able to have a really intense experience. And then it's for someone else. I give it to them and then I'm done. So I don't remember if it was a man or a woman that I received it from or that I gave it to. But I felt very impressed to put my hand sort of firmly on this person's thigh. I was like, this is the message. So, like, do I have permission? They're like, yeah, totally. So I didn't. They were like, oh my gosh, that is what so and so always did. And that was our communication. So I'm still in the process of learning to just accept it and feel it and embrace it and be like, okay, it's cool that I get to have this ability. So I just channel it for good and use it for good, and I'm in and I'm out and I'm done. But it's neat. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It really is. And I would think that as a kid, it's like you're not reading that. Nancy Drew, I don't think ever had that power, that you're not going to find that in a Hardy Boys book or Dr. Seuss or anything else or in a classroom growing up. And but
Yeah.
but you have these things. And I know other people who have experiences and have had since they were a little kid, like even um I have a friend who had an imaginary friend, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it was, of course, extremely real to him. It was real. And he had him for years. And he was part of his life for years. And he wanted him to go away because he didn't know. He didn't understand it and didn't
Yeah.
get it and didn't want it as part of his life. And I would think it'd be really difficult as a kid
Mm,
because if you're not taught it, nobody else around you is talking to things that other people aren't seeing,
yeah.
whatever. It's got to be tough as a kid to go, okay, I guess I'm different, you know?
Well, and even as an adult, I'm being less guarded about it now because I'm starting to understand that it really is something that happens to me that I'm grateful for, and I'm showing more gratitude for it. And if and I'll ask for permission before I share something like, hey, just so you know, this is something that happens to me, and right now this thing is happening. Is it okay if I share with you? And when I say it that way, people are often um, more willing to receive. But it's interesting because people who had this ability have often been burned at the stake. We kind of joke around like, oh, well, I'm a witch. And my husband's like, oh, well, you're a witch. And we say it not in a mean way, but in kind of a loving, I don't understand what she does or how it works, but it does. And in fact, not too long ago, it's probably been 5, 6, 7 years now, but I was saying to my husband, I said, well, you know how when you walk in a room and you're able to feel this, see this, understand this. And finally he just said, Sarah, no, not everybody is like that. And I was like, well, what do you mean not everybody's like that? Because I think, especially when it happens at such a young age, it's kind of like the way your family eats dinner is the way you eat dinner, or the way spaghetti is made in your family is just the way it is. And so when somebody else does it different, it's like, no, that's not correct. And it's not a right or wrong. It's just my experience is the only experience I understand. And so when I was explaining this to him and saying, oh, yeah, well, you know how this is, he's like, Sarah, everybody doesn't experience this. And I finally had a bit of a shift of, oh, so what I experience isn't the same as you. And also, I can help you. I'm able to be perhaps in this middle space where I'm able to give a message to you or to help see something for you that maybe you can't otherwise see. And so that was a really fascinating realization for me, even as an adult. Yes, as a child and all the way up, even until now, it's interesting because some things are so clear and it's fascinating to me that other people don't see it that way. I understand that they don't, but sometimes it's confusing.
Yeah, well, it is funny because you think everybody thinks like you do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like this is the way it is, and so this is the way it is for everybody. And then you find out, well, shoot, no, not
Nobody.
everybody's not experiencing the same thing. And I do think, and I wonder, I'd love your take on this. A lot of it is intuition, right? Like
Yeah.
we all have intuition.
Hmm.
Some of us just bottle it up and say, forget it. I don't even want to
Yeah.
touch it. It's
Mhm.
something of not of God or something, whatever people want to put words to it or determine that it is or whatever. And I just think, man, if you can tap into your intuition, holy cow, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache for
Oh
one
my
thing,
gosh.
right?
Mm.
And the other part of it is I just think God's that cool. Like, if we
I
put
agree.
God in a box and say, no, nobody can talk to anybody and nobody can have intuition, nobody can be an intuitive, basically whatever name you want to put on it. No, that can't happen. Then we're
Yeah.
saying, God, you're limited. You
Yeah.
you can only get this high because the rest of it. And I think it comes from a place of misunderstanding
Yeah.
that, well, it must be bad. There,
Right.
no, there's good. There's way more good than bad. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So do you ever run into people who go, well, Sarah, you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, and yet you talk to people, you get these things, do you run into people like that?
You know, I used to a lot more. It's funny as I've just sort of given it all to God and been like, okay, you gave me this, so use me. I run into it less, which is really neat. But in the beginning, I would help people, and it's such a cool, intense experience that in the moment it's so beautiful, and then afterwards people are almost shocked at how much better they feel. I've actually had people gasp over the phone, like why do I feel better? What is going on? Like not irritated, but almost. And so I have had that, and I like to compare it to things like ibuprofen. Like, I don't fully understand how an ibuprofen works. I love science. I love medicine. I love the organizational side of all of that. Like, it makes so much sense. I worked in a compounding pharmacy. And so it was like, oh, this and this work together to make this happen. And here's how, it works through the blood-brain barrier, like all these different things. Like, maybe I understand some of it more than others, but for the most part, we don't understand how an ibuprofen works. But we do know that if I take this little pill and I've got a headache and I swallow it with some water in about 45 minutes, I'm going to feel quite a bit better. And we don't seem to question that. But when I'm the ibuprofen, we do question that. And so I try to compare it to things like that. There's so many things that we don't understand, and yet we just trust them. I don't understand how a surgeon worked on my husband. and made things that were bad leave his body and sewed him back up and hooked him up to machines that everything that he could be wide open on a table and everything was fine, like, and I'm so grateful for it and I don't fully understand it. So it's funny, it almost feels like there are some things we're okay not understanding and having them work for like a car. For example, I don't know how the car works. I just drive it and I'm grateful it works. But then there are other things where there's almost this expectation, explain to me fully what you do because I can't understand it. So I do run into both, but typically once people have an experience with me, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I can't explain it, but it's incredible. So thank you."
Yeah, yeah. I love the way you just explained it because I've never heard it explained that way before.
Mm,
That's so true. We there are a lot of things I don't understand in life. Many, many things I don't understand in life, but yet they are.
yeah,
And so, this is another thing that hard to understand, but yet it is. And
yeah.
so it's so cool. And it is a beautiful gift. And you have such a beautiful spirit.
Oh,
I
thank you.
know that you want to use it
Hmm.
just all for good and all for light
Yeah.
and love and wonder and whatever. And there are times that people need healing
Yeah.
from something, right? Like
Yeah.
people are broken. Like I don't know. We all go through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it can break us little by little by little. We can be broken in two all at once with some
Yeah.
big thing that happens.
Hmm.
And repairing that it's not just about time, or it's not just about
Yeah.
saying, well, I'm okay now, or whatever, but
Right.
it's so much deeper. So talk about that a bit.
Okay, so I'm writing a couple of notes to myself because you said things that made me think of different things. I was like, oh, this is so good. So one thing I do want to share, you didn't ask about this, but I hope it's okay that I share this. A lot of times when someone is intuitive or they have this kind of, I see dead people kind of a thing, there can be kind of a scary piece to it because when you're sensitive to one, you're sensitive to both. At least that's what I have found. And so I have had to be very careful and I'm always prayerful before I do a session, before I work on everybody. I always ask for permission. I'm so careful with the gifts that I have and I don't take them lightly and I want to always make sure that I'm using them for the higher good and I don't have sort of the yucky stuff come in. So that's definitely something that I have very much had the opportunity to really, really hone in. Um, but yeah, we don't always get to experience the feelings that we have, as a little kid. I think I'm getting more and more understanding of little kids, Kim, because like when they throw a temper tantrum, like they're getting it out, right? And you and I mean, I can probably safely say that you don't remember the last time you threw a temper tantrum. You probably took a deep breath. You did whatever calming things you could do, but those angry, frustrated energies weren't actually able to go anywhere. And so we have things that happen. We'll say things inadvertently like, "Oh, I can't stand that." I'll have people come to me and tell me I've got this foot pain and I don't know what's going on. So we start talking. Well, I can't stand when this happens, and I can't stand when that happens, and I can't stand. So eventually I'm like, do you hear the message that your body is trying to get out this can't stand energy? They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice. Or we'll say things like, I have butterflies in my stomach. We say these things like no big deal. Oh, I'm so nervous, I have butterflies, I can't stand this, or I hate to see that. And yet then we start talking about, okay, well, let's remove the things that are making it so you can't see, or remove the imbalances causing this anxiety or this anxious stomach. And then that seems weird, but that's part of is when we can't fully express or experience things, then they just get trapped in it. And we talk to Kim about emotional baggage. Like we call it what it is, but then when somebody comes into, well, do you want me to help you get rid of this baggage? Well, what do you mean? That can't happen. It's like, well, which one do you want? You want to say it and get rid of it? It's just a funny thing that we do, I think.
Uh,
And sometimes we feel, and I think you and I talked about this actually last year, we feel almost this, I earned the pain. So please don't remove it from me, which is an interesting place to be. We go through really, really hard things, and removing that pain doesn't mean that we didn't go through it. It doesn't take away the experience or the power or anything. It just helps you to feel better so you don't have to carry the muck. It's like going out on a trail all day and you get all muddy and stinky, or going to Haiti and serving. Like, we're so grateful to do these things. And also coming home and having a shower doesn't make the experience as if it didn't happen. It just helps to get it off, the dirty off of us. So now we can move forward with that experience being something beautiful and positive.
Man, Sarah, you're so deep. You're so deep, but yet so relatable. That just all makes so much sense because it's true. It can be so easy to just hang on, let the hurts be part of your identity,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And let that baggage stay on your back and
Mhm.
carry it around with you and almost feel like you're obligated to do it. Like it's your
Yeah.
baggage, so you got to carry it. Or,
Yeah.
it's your pain, so you've got to just endure it. And, I think about this with grief often that you see people sometimes that I don't like get over it. I don't like that terminology. I
Hmm.
always think of it as get on top of it because,
Good.
when you go through a tough time or you're in the middle of a crisis or whatever it is, you're underneath it, man. You're like trying to breathe, you're trying to come up for air, and it is can be smothering and on top of you. And it doesn't go away. Like you don't all of a sudden stop loving the person you lost or whatever it is.
I
You
know.
can get on top of it. You can get on
Mhm.
top of that and then not be carrying it around as much
Yeah.
anymore. And that's a beautiful place to be. And so there's, you see people sometimes that are like, feel like they're dishonoring people if
Right.
they laugh or if they live or if they get rid of that baggage
Hmm.
because somehow it's disconnecting them from their person they lost or disconnecting
Right.
them from that experience. And it's like, well, it's not a disconnection. Maybe it's a reconnection
Yeah.
to what life should be, can
Yeah.
be.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and just then putting that stuff in the attic where it belongs, or I don't
Hmm.
know, where do you put it? Wherever it is you put it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that, because really what we get to do is we get to put our past behind us, which is cool, isn't it? We have one of the energies I get to work on is is when we have something that's here, that we focus on it, we think about it so much. It's as if you put your hands, I mean, if you want to do it with me, you can. It's like putting your hands in front of you, like I'm there, and if you move your fingers around, you can kind of see me, but the experience is different. Our voice bounces off ourselves, and so I essentially move it so it can be behind you, because your experience is your experience. We don't you're not going to, I like to tell people in this session, you're not going to forget who you are. You're not going to be like, wait a minute, that happened to me. I didn't even know. Like, you don't lose the experience, but the sting and the pain are able to be healed and put somewhere else so that we can focus on what we've learned. And I appreciate so much that you brought up grief, because I think it's really easy when someone meets somebody like you and I, Kim, like, oh, well, you obviously haven't gone through anything hard. You're still smiling. Obviously, you don't understand my pain. And the truth of the matter is, the reason we are the way we are is because we do fully understand so much. There are experiences I can't understand. Some of the things you've been through, I can't understand. And I imagine some of the things I've been through, you can't understand. But we can understand that together we're able to heal and to be happy while we still have these things that we've been through. We're able to have so much more care and concern and empathy, and the space we can hold for one another because we truly do feel it. That's where the change happens. That's where the peace and the healing is able to happen, because of that shared moment, that shared energy. I had the coolest experience when it was probably, so Colby's 14, so probably 12 or 13 years ago. there was a lady down the street in my cul-de-sac, and she was a psychic. I'd never been to one before. And I was like, she was my friend. So I was like, okay, well, let's go try it out. And I went in and she painted this really neat picture of how I do what I do. And I've had it in my head over the past little bit. I have a friend who's an artist that I need to verbalize it and see if she can draw this for me. But the cool thing was, oh, I just raised my hand.
Oh, I
Sorry.
know. But
Hey,
yeah.
can I talk now? Um, and she drew this picture of my energy. So our energy fields are about 8 feet around us, is how it's been measured scientifically. And what I am able to do is invite your energy into mine, and you get to come into this space with me, and your energy gets to be healed. And the cool thing is I could do it across a Zoom camera. I could do it. I have clients all throughout the world over a phone call or even just by intuitively tapping into it. And I feel so honored to be able to have that. It was such a neat visual for me to see because the responses I would get would be so huge. And like I said before, I like to line up my animals. Like I want to know why. And so that visual helped me to understand how it works. Running to someone you love and being in their embrace, there is this energy that's able to pass. We can kiss our baby's wounds and they do begin to heal quicker because of that energy exchange and because of that love that we can share. It's just so incredible.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I love that. I love the imagery of that. The 8 feet. I never heard that before.
Hmm.
Uh, it is pretty interesting because when you are with somebody who is happy and joyful, and your energies collide, right? You get within 8 feet of them, and you're
Yeah.
talking to them, and whatever. You can't help but be happier.
Hmm.
And at the same time, unfortunately, you get with somebody who's angry or down or depressed, or there's something going on in their life. It's easy to pick up on that energy as well. And it makes more sense to me now that it does, because your energies do get together and commingle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's got to be a way to embrace the happy and figure out how to not let the negative come into your energy. Is there?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. Please tell me. Yeah.
Yes, please.
So that's a lot of what I do actually. My book just came out, Forget the Label. Woo! And I talk a little bit about how I've done it. But one of the things is that I'm able to help. I talk to your soul essentially, and I find and remove imbalances in there that are bogging you down, whether it's an emotion that gets trapped in there, whether it's something that is in you that's bothering you. So that's something I do, but you asked me if there's something that you can do, like what can we do? And we can simply, it's so silly the things that we can do. One is simply taking your hand kind of down at your belly and moving the energy up. Literally just bringing the energy up. And depending on how yucky you feel, you can reach all the way down and throw it up. Um, and even just walking around with your arms up, studies have shown that when your arms are up, like think of any sporting event or any competitive. I know you're competitive, so I know this makes sense to you. When you win, like you're here. You just like nobody has to be like, okay, so if you win, this is what I want you. Nobody has to teach you that ever. A baby like just knows, like, and in fact, a baby will reach, it's such a cool thing. So even just lifting your energy up and walking around, feeling maybe really weird that you're doing it after a little while, the testosterone in your body increases, the blood begins to move more, and your energy opens up and it gets bigger and happier. So if you've been in a tough interview around somebody that kind of like bleh, brings you down. And in fact, I think you and I could say, show me how you feel when you're sad, and everybody's energy, like your body language just shows when you're happier, you just won. And so a way to feel better, like we can't always avoid these situations, right? We can't control everybody else, which is fine. Like we don't really want to. But when we feel these things, we can throw our hands in the air and we can wave them around like we just don't care. And it literally actually physiologically changes us and how we feel. And It's really, really cool. So
Wow.
that's one way, I guess two ways. Another way is by physical contact. So if you can give somebody a high five, even if it's yourself. Mel Robbins talks about this in her high five habit, like in her book, giving yourself a high five in the mirror. You're acknowledging, you're showing this power, and it's fascinating what that touch and that acknowledgement will do. Again, it lifts and changes the molecules in your body. It literally vibrates the molecules, the atoms in your body. So like this isn't like woo woo. This is how it is. We're made up of all these little atoms that bounce around together. And if we hit them, then they all bounce faster and then they bounce all the way through our body. And so now all of a sudden things are moving. If you think of a stagnant pond, there's no movement. It's stinky, it's gross. You don't want the fish out of there. But a river is flowing and there's movement. And so that's what happens with a touch, with a movement, any kind of energy change, like an actual movement change can really lift that energy.
Wow. I like that. I like that because all of those things are very simple. They're all
Yeah,
so simple, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And doable. And so yeah, because I think I know that there's been times in my life when something's happened at work or something's happened somewhere and somebody's angry, and then I can get caught up in that anger. I can get caught up in that mess, that nasty feeling. I hate feeling like that, but I can get caught up in it and then carry that with me. Let my
Yeah.
whole energy shift. And
Yeah.
I know that there's like cameras that will look at your aura, or like I met a woman who sees people's auras. Like there are people that see
Yeah.
people's auras, right, and can kind of see the energy around them,
Mhm.
and in living color, right? And
Yeah.
it'd be interesting if we all could and see
Yeah.
the fact that we have that this is for real. We
Mhm.
think that we end with our skin, like
Yeah.
that's it, but really we have this energy field. There are things happening outside of us, and if we could see that and then somehow have a cushion against the wrong color energy or
Right.
something, that'd be really nice. But since we can't, it's nice to know that throw your arms up, because it's
Yeah.
so true. I mean, you watch anybody win, and that's what they do. You score a touchdown, they throw their arms up, right?
Yeah.
Take a three-pointer, woo, whatever. I mean, it's throw your arms up. I mean, shoot, even in football, they must have carried that through because that's a touchdown, right?
Isn't that true? And
Yeah.
even the goalpost looks like
Oh,
winning. None of
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And V for victory, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really
Yeah.
interesting. But
It's
yeah,
really cool.
it's a real thing. It's for real. And so,
Yeah.
if you
And
ever
it's
wonder why.
okay. It's okay too if we could just like stop for a minute and realize like the things that you and I even just know of each other that we've been through, it would be absolutely ridiculous, horrible, mean, and rude to say, just throw your hands in there. Everything will be fine. No, no, it won't. With the things that literally you and I and this screen have been through, this is not going to fix anything. And so I want to acknowledge that sometimes things are just really bad. And it's okay to sit in it, to feel sad, to feel the feelings. In fact, it's really important to. But one of the ways I like to look at it is if have you ever, I'm sure you have. So I'm just gonna say, so remember when you've been driving in a car and there's a really bad smell, maybe a skunk has died, or you go by like a chicken farm and it's upsetting. Like you can't get away from yourself. You're looking for the recirculate air button in your car and you're like, "Oh no, what have I done?" And you have to get through it. That's the only way. It doesn't go away until you've literally driven through the smell. And then when you get to the other side of it, then you're able to breathe and you're able to victory. Then you're able to say, "Oh, thank heavens the recirculate works," or, are we brave enough to roll down the window and get fresh air? All of that to say our emotions can be as though we are a passenger in a car or in a train and we're watching things happen. And for a little while, maybe something we don't want to see is right there. And it's really okay. And in fact, important to acknowledge that. Think of a baby. Think of a little kid when they're upset, they experience it. Now, it's not always appropriate to experience things the way a little kid does, probably don't take something and throw it at someone if you're mad at them. It's probably not appropriate, but experience it so that it doesn't just get so stuck inside of you because, oh, well, a good girl doesn't do this or a good boy doesn't act like this. I can't feel things. I always have to look a certain way. And then we end up having emotional baggage. We end up having this stuff that now, we have the weight of the world on our shoulders, or, somebody's being a pain in our butt. Now our behind hurts all the time. Like these are very real things that happen. So it is important to experience it, and we can feel better faster than we thought. And also don't just ignore it. It's okay to be like, yeah, that was a really hard thing. It's going to take me a minute to get through. This car smells like skunk or chicken, farm. And it's going to take a minute and it's okay. It'll happen. So allowing yourself that grace to go through it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I too believe that it's just so important. And I know in my life there've been times that I've tried to put it on a shelf and did because I didn't think I could feel it. I remember when my dad died, I was so overwhelmed. And I think it's because it was a few years after my husband passed away. It was, a couple years after this happened, whatever. It was like one more thing. And my dad and I were so close and I loved him so much. And I felt like if I started to cry, I wouldn't be able to stop. I thought about renting a hotel room and going for like a 3-day weekend and just crying for 3 days. But I was afraid that if I did that, that 3 days wasn't going to be enough.
Mm.
And when was I ever going to come home again? Would I ever be able to get on top of that? And so I was so afraid to let it even begin.
Yeah.
And but it is so important, looking back, had I just dealt with things as they come, with whatever capacity I can in the moment, because that's another thing, right? Like things can hit you so hard that it's disabling.
Absolutely.
And little by little, you got to kind of come to grips with whatever it is.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, but to feel the feels, feel the feelings it's not just important, but it's good. And,
Yeah.
and it's also okay. Like
Oh, absolutely.
sometimes I feel like people feel like they need permission, right? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you got permission. Feel,
Right. Here it is. If you've
yeah,
been waiting for permission, Kim and I give you permission.
right.
Feel the feelings. And a lot of times, the reason we don't feel the feelings is because they don't feel good. My mother-in-law said something to me so many years ago, and it just like my eyes were like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Because I would always tell people I don't like to cry. I don't like to cry because I don't enjoy it. And my mother-in-law said to me, well, of course you don't. It's because it hurts. I thought, oh my gosh, I've never heard it put so simply, but crying hurts because when we're crying, we're often experiencing or feeling the pain of something that's causing us sadness, sorrow, grief, mourning, loss that is crying, and it is uncomfortable and painful. And for whatever reason, that set me free. So maybe, Kim, this is going to set somebody free who's listening or watching. Maybe it sets you free, or maybe it's just for me to say again and remind myself that crying is uncomfortable and painful, and it is also healing and cleansing to let it out.
It's interesting that we're created that way. That
Right?
crying is part of our makeup. And it is this release, right?
Ah,
Like you see the physical release of crying, the water streaming down your cheeks, but with that release comes other emotional releases, or unbinds your heart in some way or whatever. Which any of those things
absolutely.
are painful. All those things are painful.
They are. And I love that you said at the very beginning, you were talking about God, and in the scriptures, there's one verse that is two words, and it says Jesus wept. And if he was our perfect example and he wept, it's okay for us to do so too. That's how we were made. You were just saying that, the way that we were made to be able to release this pressure, this sadness, this sorrow. And sometimes it takes somebody holding our hand. Sometimes it takes an energy worker across the world. Sometimes it takes the hug of a loved one, a fist bump from somebody to just release that energy, like popping a balloon, and we're able to let it out, and then we can come back up and get back in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So true, so true. So, I'd love to hear, like, when you became a massage therapist, when you
Yeah.
know, did all this and whatever, but then you realized that you're not the average massage therapist.
Hmm.
Like other things are happening while you are rubbing muscles and
Yeah.
kneading backs or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What was that like for you? How did that discovery come to you? And
That's such a good question. And that has been a real journey because I always knew I wanted to massage people. Like I told you from the time I was tiny. You said 8, probably younger. Like I have a couple of core memories, and one of them is, my me throwing an arm at my dad and my dad throwing an arm at me while we're watching a movie. Like it was just always how it was. And so even before I was a professional massage therapist, people would come to me and I'd ask them how they were, and they would for reals tell me. There was none of this, I'm fine. It was this horrible, tragic thing just happened. And then they look at me like, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I just said, how were you? It was kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. And then they would say, oh, my shoulder hurts. And I would be like, oh, here. And then I could help it and I could fix it. And this is before I went to massage school. So, and I actually didn't even know you could go to massage school. I thought, oh, okay, it's 111 on 1111, which is kind of fun right now. Anyways, where I am. Okay.
where
Um,
I, yeah.
okay, nice. That's really cool. We're talking about all of this. Um, so I ended up discovering that I could go to massage school, which was cool. So I was like, oh, that like cuts out all this middle stuff. So I went to massage school, and the first time I ever did energy work was cranial sacral. It's holding. I don't know if you've ever had it done. It's very gentle work. It's the pressure of a nickel, like any of the stuff on your face. That's how heavy it is. It's not like, really getting in there, but it's not like Reiki where you don't touch at all. So there is some touch. In the very, very first session, the way it works in massage school is you learn for an hour and then you have 2 hours of hands-on, where um, you're the client and then you're the practitioner. So I put my hands on my friend Kimmy and I closed my eyes and I was so focused. And all of a sudden I felt tears and I was like, well, that's weird because I didn't like feel sad necessarily. And I kind of peeked at her and she's like kind of moving around. She was releasing a car accident. I didn't even know you could release a car accident. I didn't even know what that meant. So I look over at my instructors and I was kind of like, it's quiet, everybody's, napping or whatever. And I'm looking at them like, I don't know what I did, but I think I broke my friend. So they didn't do this probably, but in my mind, it was like this ethereal sort of floating. And they're like, it's so beautiful. Her soul trusts yours. And I'm like, it's not beautiful. I think I broke my friend. They're like, no, it's wonderful. And she was thanking me. Everybody was thanking me. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't ever want to do this again. And it freaked me out, but I was really, really good at it. And so like I would get the biggest tips at massage school. You charge nothing for a massage and I'd come back in and I'd have like piles of money on my table. And I was like, so me being logical, I was like, okay, so what is it that I'm doing? What's the thing that's changing? And and I would ask people, they're like, oh my gosh, that I've never had a massage like that. And I was like, I'm literally in a school with people learning the same thing. What is it that is so different? So the question you asked was phenomenal because I didn't know for a long, long, long time. And then finally I realized it was the fact that I was also channeling, bringing this energy work into it. And I wasn't just manipulating the muscles, but because of the touch that I have and the ability that I've had from forever, I was able to change more than just their muscles, and people were able to have an energetic release and healing almost at the guise of a massage. Like I wasn't being dishonest. I was massaging, but I was able to do something more with that physical touch. So it's been an interesting thing for me to I guess, to be okay with it and to just say, yeah, I am really good at what I do. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, I mean, my poor clients, whenever I move, they're like, oh, it's the worst. They're like, I can't ever find anyone like you. And I'm like, no, I just do massage. Like, find somebody, because I'm thinking all the technical stuff, right? Like, just find somebody, ask these questions, and you'll find them. They're like, no, but it's just not the same. So I'm learning to just accept that if my hands touch you, it's going to be a very, very different experience. And even without my hands touching you, across, I mean, I work on people in South Africa, I work on people in Italy and in England and in France, like, and I have clients in Australia. Like, it's insane that I'm able to cross over this plane and do these really, really cool things. It's really neat.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And it kind of comes back to because you do it and it's natural for you, you just think, oh, it's the way everybody does. Everybody already knows this.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then coming to realize, oh, I guess there is something different. What is it exactly and how do I deal with it? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's so cool. That's so
It's
cool.
funny. It's funny too. I actually just thought of this, if it's okay that I share. When I very first decided, like, fine, I'm good at energy work, because I didn't for a long time, Kim. My son was, my 14-year-old was just born when I was finally like, okay, I'm good at this. I need to just really hone in and get like a certification or something. So I'm like legit, in this stuff. And as soon as I did, and I immediately worked distance because I was living in Texas at the time. My family was in Oregon. My husband's family was in Arizona. And so when we started talking to him about it, they're like, oh, well, can you work on me? And I would. And it was so energetically draining that I would literally fall asleep in the middle of a session, in the middle of working on someone. And it would take me all day to release these things from people because of the pull that it would have on me. It was so heavy and so tiring. And then obviously over the years, I've gotten better at it, and it's less draining for the most part, unless I work on somebody, like in an emergency room or something, that's another really, really big energetic pull. But it definitely takes a lot of training and a lot of work to build up those spiritual muscles, just like with any exercise, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So interesting. It's so interesting because it is so powerful. And I know you're the best of the best and that people all over, like you said, want you and know that what you have to offer is so valuable. And so it also has to feel rewarding, good in
Yeah.
a couple ways. One, the change that you're making in somebody's life, right? What you're doing for them. But also, I would think part of the rewarding is, wow, God, you gave me this gift and I'm using it.
Yeah. It feels very humbling at times that I've been entrusted with such a gift. And I felt, honestly, Kim, I felt a little guilty that I could do that. Like maybe I needed to hide away, because what if somebody else didn't have this and it made them feel bad? And then I realized that that's not why God gives us gifts. He doesn't give us gifts to feel bad about it. He gives us gifts so that we can bless his children. We can bless people on this earth, that we get to be angels and messengers and people to carry out his will. And when I looked at it that way, as being more of a messenger from him, all of a sudden it was like, oh no, this is really cool. I like this. I want to be on your errand. I like that. That's a good errand to be on.
That's so good. I think some people go their whole life without discovering what it is that God has for them.
Yeah.
It can be easy, depending on how we're raised, what we read, what we're taught, to
Yeah.
be closed off and
Mhm.
and to think, oh my gosh, I can't go there or whatever, and just kind of be closed off from things and think
That's
that
scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, there is a good word. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So to be open, I've heard people say that really everybody has intuition.
Oh,
Like we
absolutely.
all do.
Mhm.
You think about like the mom who's laying in bed and wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning and goes, something's going on with Johnny, or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And then
Mhm.
find out that there's a car accident that happens at that very moment or
Yeah.
whatever. Like we
Or you
all,
wake up right before your kid is about to puke on you, and you magically are able to wake up, get them into the bathroom, situated, and figured out before you even, or maybe even conscious. Yeah, absolutely. Mother's intuition. That's when we trust it for some reason. And then we feel like that's all we got.
yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah.
Right. Right. We let it go at those moments. But
Hmm.
how powerful it is in those moments. It's so powerful
So
that
powerful.
why wouldn't you want to experience that power more?
Mm.
And really, and I think a lot of it, tell me what you think about this, but is being open to listening, to realize that prayer is not a one-way conversation, but that it
100%.
is it is a conversation, that it goes both ways.
Oh, 100%. I love that you brought that up because one of my favorite things to talk about is if you call somebody and you want to talk to them on the phone, typically you're not like, "Hey, Kim, I had this question. I wondered if you wanted to tell me this." Okay, bye. It's like, that's a dumb conversation. But we sometimes do that when in our prayers and when we talk to God, like, here's all these things that I need and I want, and now I don't have any time to listen to you, so I'm going to go. Like, go ahead and send something really big so it can disrupt what I'm doing. But I very much believe in the power of being quiet and listening. And I think different people are going to hear it differently, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, whether it's introspection, whether it's sitting in a room with quiet, however it is that your mind is able to open and just be still. I think that's when God and our intuition are able to connect and to talk with us. But we have to take that time and make it be important. And even if it's, if you're like, I don't even have any time because I am so busy all the time. Do you have 5 minutes while you're driving to go pick somebody up from school or while you're, being the Uber for whatever or on the way to the grocery store? Maybe one of those ways don't have on music and just be and just hear and feel and listen and get back in touch with you. We're so bombarded with the loud and much of it is good. I'm not saying that that's bad, but in order to hear and to feel, if we can get quiet, gosh, that's when our creativity happens. That's when our imagination begins. That's when we receive answers and revelation and downloads and, whatever, however, it makes sense to you. But I call them all of those things. I think sometimes it's a download and sometimes it's revelation or inspiration or, intuition. It's all of these really, really cool things.
Yeah, yeah, so true. When you think about like somebody who's trying to come up with something or a fix for something, like Steve Jobs at some points in his life, I'm sure he had to go, "Guy, I gotta just go think about this."
Yeah.
He had to go get quiet somewhere and just think about it and let your mind empty a bit so that more can get poured in.
Yeah. And wasn't it, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who, man, I don't want to tell the story wrong, but I'm gonna tell it and hope I'm pretty sure that's who it is. He's the one who set up the national parks. I'm almost positive. Um, and but I think like his wife or somebody had passed away and he was so distraught he just went out and away in the mountains. And that was where he was able to do his healing with the quiet. And so, yeah, like we talk about Steve Jobs or, big, huge names that with Jesus, he would always go off and pray. Like he was always like going off by himself and praying. And if they can do it, and if it works for them, then of course it would work for us because we're all people. We all
Right,
are made of the same stuff.
exactly, in his image.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too sometimes it can get a little confusing. Like if you've got a brain like mine, it's really hard to shut it off at all. And
Yeah.
so, but the thoughts that are coming in when you're in a different place uh, are different thoughts. So
Well, and can I be so rude, Kim? And and just say we don't want our brain to shut off. I think we think that that's the point of being quiet, but it's kind of like saying, "Heart, you're beating too much. Stop." Like we don't want that. We don't want our brain to not think that's its job. Like we're so thankful that our brains think. So instead of shutting it off, what if it's let it play? What if that's how your brain is playing, Kim? It's thinking of Haiti and love and grief and Disney and Airbnbs and all of these things, and your brain just is getting this opportunity to play around with all these things. And eventually, chances are it lands somewhere that's the most fun or the most important for that moment. And so, can we just normalize that our brains are supposed to brain? In any meditation that I've led, people are like, I just couldn't get my brain to shut off. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Your brain is keeping so many things going. Like, can we just say, congratulations, your brain is still on?
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think that there's such a misunderstanding around that, that somehow you're gonna just be empty
Yeah,
and then stuff is gonna come. And it's like, well, I don't know. Does anybody ever really get to empty? I don't know how you do that.
I hope not.
Maybe after a 40-day fast, I don't know, who knows?
But I
But
think things
yeah,
just get clear.
yeah,
And
right.
you're starving. So how do you not think about food after 40 days? I mean, I've done 10 and that's like,
One,
no,
skip a
right?
meal.
I know,
You
I know,
gotta
I
be
forgot to eat. I know.
Yeah, but right. And one thing that I do that helps me, I think everybody, you find your own way, right? You find
Absolutely.
what works for you, what helps you. But paper and pencil helps me.
Mhm.
And I just write what I hear. Just write what you hear.
Mhm.
And then it's always so interesting to go back and read it and go, oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Have you ever noticed how you write it too? I found that really fascinating when I'm happy and feeling like love, my letters are like loopy and almost like, I don't know, like dancey kind of. And when I'm angry, like they're sharp and they're like very specific. So I wonder, and what have you noticed that when you do the writing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't, but I'm gonna pay attention to that. One thing that I have noticed is that when I'm just, just writing what I'm hearing, quite often the language isn't quite what I would use, you know,
Oh, yeah.
like whatever, my dear child, or
Yeah. And you're
whatever.
like,
Like,
what?
I don't ever go, oh, Paul, my dear child, or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that can be kind of interesting. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a big fan too. I like to take notes even when we're having conversations because such beautiful things can come up and our brains being as busy as they are, sometimes we don't remember the things that we desire to remember. So writing things down, yeah, I think that's amazing too. In fact, is it okay if I talk about my book for just a
Yes,
sec,
please.
really
No,
quick?
no, please, please.
So, because I also agree with that, in my book, I actually have places for you to write. So, I tell my stories and I teach things and then I let you write stuff down because often, at least for me, when I'm reading a book, I have these thoughts and then it's like, shoot, where's my notebook or my pen or my whatever? And so I have it laid out in the book that if there's something that comes to your mind, you just write it. It's there and it's available. So I love that you brought that up. That's really fun.
Yeah. Hold up your book, show us the cover, talk about it, tell
Here's
us
my
about it. When
book.
did you start writing it? Why did you write it? What's the
Yeah.
message you want people to walk away with?
Okay, so it's called Forget the Label. And then the subtitle, which we ended up actually taking off the front because we liked the labels more as the subtitle, is peel it off, rip it off, burn it, like get rid of it, change it. It's not the boss of you. And so I've had a lot of books. I tend to sort of write books on my walk in my brain. I do these little minute and a half walkie-talkies where I get inspiration or the download while I'm walking. I very much believe in physical movement creates a space for inspiration to come. That's how it comes for me. And I heard it's really hard to write a book and it takes forever. And I'm a little ornery sometimes, Kim. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna dictate a book in a week. I'm just gonna prove that it can be done. So I did. And then I kind of panicked about it. And then I put it through Chat GPT and I got it written and done. And then a neighbor came over and said, if you do too much through Chat GPT, it might not be your rights and different things. And then I read it again and I thought, that's just not my voice. So I rewrote it. I I took because I dictated it into my phone. on my walks. And so then I just transcribed it, took out a lot of the likes because I realized how often I say that while I'm describing things on my walks, and put it entirely into my book. I wrote it to be ornery because I was like, anybody can do this. And I think we can do it fast. We have technology, we have so many tools. I don't think it has to take forever. I'm going to show you. So in less than 4 months, I dictated it, wrote it twice, and got it published and out. I want people to realize that they are limiting themselves either with the labels that they have put on themselves or that others have put on themselves, or that even things that they're thinking over and over. I have a whole title about, or a whole chapter about brainwashing, and how it's just saying and repeating in our mind over and over and over the same things. I found my husband called me out because I kept saying I'm so tired. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize I was saying it or that I was thinking it. And one day he said, "Why do you keep saying you're so tired?" I'm like, I don't say that all the time, as we all do, right? And then I started noticing that I would say it in my mind. I'm so tired. I thought, okay, what is going on? Why am I saying this? Why am I repeating this? And so I started to change that label of I'm so tired as a who I am to a I'm feeling this way in this moment. Can I change it? Oh, I didn't sleep well. So of course I'm feeling tired and I can do something about it instead of it being something that's holding me back because it's a label. I am so tired. I am just a mom. I am only this. And instead of it being such a limiter, have a label be something that's a descriptor about us and how incredible we are. Kim is a survivor. She's a philanthropist. She she is a healer. Oh my gosh, what you do in Haiti to save these people and give them water is just phenomenal. And it would be so easy to hide behind a label of grieving widow, lost. And not that they aren't true and they didn't serve their purpose, but that's not all that you are. And so I hope that when people read this book, it's really easy to hear somebody else's story and then put yourself in, as opposed to have somebody tell you what's going on because of your story. It's like I can hear your story and see your problems and kind of be like, oh yeah, I could see that with myself. So I hope that that's what people do. And I even wrote at the beginning, if you're not sure how to read it, I give you, I'm a little bossy at the beginning of how to read it. And I ask people just to let go of the things that are holding them back and act as though being in this book with me is a safe place to release old labels, write brand new ones, and really fully remember and maybe even relearn how incredible they are.
I love that. I love that. It's so good. So good, Sarah. It's going to sell a bazillion copies. Everybody listening, honestly, it's available on Amazon.
It is, yeah.
And to me, a book is such a beautiful gift. And it's Amazon makes it so easy for us because
It
all
really
you have to
does.
do is go on, think of a
Mhm.
friend, think of somebody who could really benefit from Sarah's book, send it to them. You don't have to go to the post office. You don't have to physically touch anything. You just push a button, enter an address. I mean, it's the easiest thing. And what a blessing, what an incredible gift to receive in the mail. Somebody thinking about you and somebody sending you a book, and a great book, because this is a great book. And there's, like as I'm thinking about it, I can think of a whole lot of people that could benefit from your book, and I'm sure everybody else too. So go on Amazon, get one for yourself, but buy for other people too, and send them. It's just a wonderful thing to do, a way to show that you love them, and you're sending this super thoughtful book that shows them that all the more. So it's so good.
Thank you.
Everybody buy it, buy it, buy it. It's excellent. It's
Thank
excellent.
you.
And Sarah has a podcast of her own too, Walkie Talkie.
Well,
And
it's actually a podcast called Stronger Than You Think. That's the name of my
Stronger Than You
podcast.
Think.
Yeah, you've been on it. You've been on it. It's
I
been so
have been
long.
on it.
Yes.
Yes. Stronger
Yeah.
Than You Think, but you do these walkie talkies.
And then I do walkie-talkies. Yeah.
Walkie-talkies. But yes, but your podcast, Stronger Than You Think, which is also a whole conversation all by itself, because that is absolutely so true. So you do so much, Sarah. And by the way, your kids, and then you're a grandma. Look at you. You look like you're 25, you're a grandma. And you've got kids right now sort of all over the world and country.
Mhm.
And so that's an interesting thing. And then you got a 14-year-old, whatever. So, and you have a son from Haiti.
Yep.
which is so incredible. Obviously, a country near and dear to my heart, and an incredible guy that gets to be a part of your life, and you get to be a part of his. And I just admire you, Sarah. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for your friendship, and I'm so grateful for what you do for people, because I know that you do a lot. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, first, thank you. I feel the same way about you. When we first met, at the Hurricane Mastermind, we sat at the same table and you started talking about Haiti, and I just thought, okay, we're kindred spirits. We must know each other. And I love that our friendship has continued. So thank you for having me on. People can get in touch with me. I am all over the place. Sarah Park Verhoef, which is not easy to understand or pronounce, but it's on Facebook. It's easy to find. I also have a YouTube channel with that same name, and you can connect with me there. And then you can message me, you can get a hold of me. I have a sageenergyhealing.com website where you can learn more about what I do. And get my book, and in the back of the book there's a QR code that you can scan and you can contact me all sorts of different ways.
That's so awesome. And of course, we'll have it all in the show notes. So if you didn't have paper and pencil and writing it down right now, just look at the show notes, and you can get in touch with Sarah, get in touch with me, and I'll get you in touch with Sarah, however it works for you. But thank you so much, Sarah. This was really great. And the hour went by like it was 3 minutes long. And when that happens, I know that there's a whole lot that's been said that I need to digest, and other people probably do too. Pass the episode along. Sarah dropped so much wisdom in this episode. Pass it along. There's probably somebody I'm sure there's somebody who could use this. So share it. Thanks again, Sarah. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank
And thank
you.
you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And I just pray that until we see each other again, that you keep your heart open and you live your love loud.